Yes, so here we are, CornWELL Festivals. And it's important, I think, to remember in this ever-changing world that this is a festivals organization. So the party is the purpose, really. We want to be having fun, we want to be celebrating, and we want to be doing things that are multi-sensory and creative and artistic, as well as just having, it's not a webinar or sort of conference business. So it's important to remember that. And that's one of the things I'd like to see developing in the course of the year, is to have more arts and cultural sort of things going on too, to keep us in the best possible state of mind and body and soul. But I'm just going to outline the why, how, and what of what CornWELL Festivals is all about, really. And I spent a lot of time about 5 years ago going to a lot of strategic review meetings with the NHS and trying to sort of learn more about public health. And I heard presented a triangle like this about the shape of the population and how public health is all about trying to sort of maintain public health. And in theory, there should be more people that are healthy, but some of them sometimes need, actually, I've just realized I got these words the wrong way around. The one above healthy should be at risk and then proceeding to being managed or in care. But what I learned in that presentation was that there's actually fewer healthy people than there are people at risk or ill. And I thought that's the case in Cornwall, but it can't, that sort of seems wrong. And the other thing I started to sort of feel was that the power of organizations that are organized around health seem to be concentrated at the wrong end of the triangle, up at the top where people are already ill and looking after that. And the people power, which is actually what is keeping people healthy, seems to be somehow lacking traction. And I was coming at this from a people power point of view. I also chair the patient participation group at the Newquay Health Centre. And I just felt the voice of people and the community is just like being lost, or I don't even know where to shout and scream that voice. And to learn then that there were not enough healthy people to balance the triangle out, I thought, okay, well, something needs to change, even though I've got no idea what it is. But the more I thought about it and the more we have been evolving CornWELL, I realized, well, the first thing we need to do is turn that triangle upside down, because to have the sickest people at the top is not what we want. We want a healthy community, and actually it shouldn't be a triangle, it should be more like a drawing pin or a T. Ideally, you want most people healthy. Sometimes people get ill, then they go to hospital, get fixed. But otherwise, we spend most of our effort in life, in communities and in organizations, keeping people healthy. And I know that everyone in the NHS knows this, and they talk about prevention, but prevention's still focused on illness. We need to be talking about health and well-being and the creation of health and well-being. So first thing, turn the triangle upside down. Second thing, grow people power, and we need to figure out what that means, and move organizational power back up the triangle. And the sectors have different roles here. You know, the bottom of the triangle might be dominated really by sort of big organizations, public sector organizations, and maybe some larger private sector hospitals and other private sector organizations, and some big charities. But up at the top, there's a wealth of private organizations, sole traders, smaller charities, community groups, voluntary groups, volunteers, individuals, as well as some public sector community-based things as well. It's a complex web of all sorts of good things. But in order to expand people power and move organizational power up the triangle, that I think, and I'm coming ever more to the conclusion that community is where it's at. And that really means what communities do best anyway. We all have a great ability to do this. Humans are very good at it. Conversations, connections, working together, that's where it's at. And it's not rocket science, but it is complex. But the solution isn't complex. We just need to talk about it. So that's, in a nutshell, why CornWELL exists. And it's why it's wonderful that so many people join these meetings now, not to listen to me, but just to have conversations and talk. So I'll move on, but that's what we're all about. Now, in terms of what we do, we were running health fairs and festivals, and now we're doing the same, but as best we can online. And our current incarnation is, the plan is to have one of these meetings on the last Thursday of every month, and to also have others, preferably from the community. So there won't be necessarily experts, as Ian has said. We'll highlight when they are, but to have people coming in and telling us about what are community hubs, where are they happening, how are they working, what else is happening in the community, how are we looking after aging people, young people, the workplace, how do we involve arts and culture in this? There's a, you know, it is a complex field. So we want to draw in the right things, and we'd like your views as to what the right topics are to be talking about, and make sure we got the right ones on the list, and maybe in the right sort of priority order, with the right principles. So we've currently got a pretty good plan for February and March, but if anyone else has got other ideas or wants to be involved in a panel group or a talk for subsequent events, then please do let us know. There'll be plenty of opportunity to talk about that today. But otherwise, that's really what this year is looking like. Community-led talks at the end of each month, maybe other events if we want to, but with a rich mix of good stuff. And who knows, maybe towards the end of the year, we might be able to get back into an actual physical group and meet somewhere safe and have a festival as well. But we'll see. So that's the first half of what we're doing. The final thing I really want to talk about is a bit more theoretical. And Kirsten from the Inclusivity Project at the University of Exeter is on the call today. And we're working together to figure out more about this. There's a new field called social network analysis, which I think is going to be really important to this whole thing. Because it turns out when you look at it, there are different types of community. You can have communities or networks, this could be of individuals or organizations, that are not connected. The private sector in well-being is a bit like that. There's quite a lot of 1,000,001 people doing things all over the world on their own. You can have communities that are siloed or over-connected in silos that don't necessarily connect with each other. And from what I understand, large areas of the public sector can be a bit like that in parts. It can happen in a hierarchical organization. The structures can start to get a bit fixed. But there are also what they call small world networks, which people are very good at, and the community sector is very good at. Charities come in different shapes and sizes, but they're quite good at connecting with each other and into different sectors of society as well. And that's really what I'd like to move CornWELL towards, and to help CornWELL move our communities towards, so that we're connected, not too much, not too little, just the right amount. And a small world network is like, when you say it's a small world, it's a network that does have a number of close connections, but it also has some outside ideas or a smaller number of distant connections as well. And it turns out in the spread of anything through communities, that turns out to be to create the conditions for ideas in our case, and maybe factors that contribute to health and well-being to propagate most easily. So my overall mission, I think, in helping there to be more healthy people, I think will be served by, with awareness, creating the right sort of networks around health and well-being. That's what we're all about. And the Inclusivity Project, I'm hoping, are going to help us actually visualize this and measure this. And it might look something like this. So this is a network. It's got 100 blobs in it. They're different colors. And I think if we start to visualize the CornWELL community, which might look a bit like this, we will be able to see where the clusters are, where the areas are of isolation or over-connection, and then to prioritize, well, which areas of this network might we want to bring into the fold a little bit. And I want to just take the liberty of doing a little experiment with you and sharing something that I've found, which I don't know how it works. I've really only been playing with it for a day or two, but there is software available online, which you can put in. I've put in some data here, just 100 data points, and you can see, okay, well, our public sector constituents look like this. So maybe we've got a big hospital that's quite well connected. There might be a council here that's quite well connected, but they don't seem to be necessarily talking to each other that much. I don't know if this is true. I'm only going on what I've been hearing from different sectors. Then you look at the private sector, 101 different people, some of whom are connected and a lot of which aren't. And the community sector, some big charities, some very small ones. Again, I'm only going on very anecdotal evidence here, but already I can start to imagine, you can then see, well, how is the community sector linked with the private sector? Mixed, there's some clusters, there's some very strong connections in some places, there's some very weak connections in other places. The community sector and the charity sector and the public sector might be more strongly connected, and then you can look at all three. And this is where the art and the science comes in, really. But I do really, more intuitively than anything else, feel, but I've read quite a lot about this, I think there's a real opportunity here to get much more explicit about the general feeling, which is now becoming more apparent in the last 12 months, of communities are it, and we can do this scientifically and artistically and consciously, and start to just highlight where are the strengths in our community, where are the gaps, where are the opportunities. And I'd like us to get involved, and at some point when we're even clearer about what we're going to do, the invitation to you guys is, could you leap in and just help us generate some of this information? And we'll have to figure out how to do it in a way that's manageable, digestible, but still generates this rich picture and enables us to move forwards. So I'm aware I'm going out a bit on a limb there and sharing stuff which is early in its form, but I really feel like it's important enough and certainly exciting enough for me to get more involved in. But I guess the question I would leave you with rhetorically for the moment is, am I crazy? Do you think this is a good idea? Should we keep doing this? And if so, if you're up for it, we'll do more of it. But I really think there's some very clever people looking at social network analysis. So we want to bring them in, and it's only ever going to be part of the community in Cornwall, and it's only ever going to be part of the wellbeing community in Cornwall. But at least amongst ourselves, we can see, okay, well, this is what a community can look like, and then we can do that with awareness and actually see what we're talking about and see what we intuitively all know, which is that the more we connect, the more we know each other, trust each other, the better it is for all of us.